Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Full Court Cleveland on FanDuel Sports Network. Head coach Ryan Smith, my friend Sam Amico, and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito, Booby Gibson. It's a scratch for rest. You know, we've been going on for too long, so we had to rest Booby Gibson. But, Sam, I want to tell everybody in the audience, Full Court Cleveland is no longer undefeated, but ever since Full Court Cleveland started on FanDuel Sports Network, the Cavs have been either holding a tie or sole possession of first place, and that continues to be the case as we speak right now.
Yeah, I mean, the one loss to Boston, obviously tough. Still, I thought looked good. I think everybody thought that in the second half after getting down. But, Rob, you know, the signs are there for them to continue this in terms of the success. And that's really what you're looking for is what are the signs telling us what are the positive things to take out of this first, chunk of the season? And there's tons of them. And still, at this point, just one loss.
We have a lot prepared for you guys tonight and today because we're going to be talking about the Cavs, their run, they're still undefeated at home. We're going to look ahead at upcoming matchups coming up. We have some visits of current and former champions in the NBA coming to Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse to put that undefeated record on a test. We're going to talk about the NBA, what's going on. LeBron James and that rookie they have over there had kind of come up and done really well. Maybe we want to talk about the Emirates Cup court.
Oh,
There's some that you can say you could do without. There's some that I liked.
Yeah.
I don't know what we can talk about. There's so much to talk about here. And let's start with what's going around in the NBA with the Emirates Cup. Are you into it a little more than you were last year? Do you enjoy it more? Do you think the players are getting into it a little more?
Yeah. I personally, I'm probably into it a little less.
Really?
Only because I've been so focused, and I think so many people around the league are focused on the Cavs and that great run that they've had to start the season. So that the game against Boston was one of the cup games.
That had a lot involved in that.
Yeah. And I barely noticed because you were just so into the actual game.
Yeah.
But I think the players themselves are more into it, realizing, this is a little bit bigger of a deal. We have an opportunity to play for something as opposed to just a regular season game. And I think that, overall, I can't really get a gauge on what the fans are thinking. I think it's mixed. But, again, there's some elements to this that are really cool that you wouldn't normally see in the NBA in November and early December, which is colored courts, people playing for something bigger than just a regular season win. So, I mean, there are elements to it that are kind of cool. And I love the courts. I know some people don't like them. I really think
and
it's
this
cool.
is what I just want to make clear. I don't not like them, right? I understand the whole point about when you watch a video, highlight, or anything, or you turn your TV on in the month of November and you see the colored courts with the beautiful Emirates Cup in the middle. It's a cup game, right? I just have an issue with a couple of things. First of all, those courts where the players reflect on the floor, it's kind of disturbing to watch on TV. And also the game against Boston, it looked like a game being played in one of those gyms that they also play volleyball and play pickleball and play with all those lines. The color I didn't mind, the green that wasn't really Celtic green, but it was just shaded all over the place. But it had kind of like white lines going all over the place, and
it was hard to see.
It's not really pleasurable to watch.
Right, you're right. If you're a player on the court, it almost is like, what are we playing in a middle school gym? You know what I mean? And so some of those courts, Boston's was way too green, in my opinion. It was very bright.
They do love green in Boston, though.
They do, and why not? But some of the other ones that are like bright red and stuff, I think they're cool. I don't know if I were a player, if it might be a little bit distracting. And is it just me? But in the Cavs court, I didn't feel this way. But some of these courts look like they're slippery.
Yeah, like the Philadelphia
like they're too shiny.
Yeah, Philadelphia was just blue.
Yeah,
and I just you could see the reflection of the player. And obviously, I never played at any level that to even be considered like a valuable opinion. But I don't know. It bothers me to watch it.
Yeah.
Although I am for the whole concept of the cup.
Well, why
I
not?
think finally the NBA has joined what every other league in the world has found success in terms of like, the Champions League or the Copa del Rey in La Liga, or the Euro League has all these different tournaments in between, right?
It's something that's popular in the soccer world.
Yeah,
and with
very popular.
Soccer being really the largest global sport, why not give it a try? Because I think the NBA, has suffered in terms of the viewership, in terms of November and December. Those have been tough months for them. So this is an opportunity that they're looking at. Like it can't hurt to generate at least more conversation about the league in a time when in the United States football is kind of king.
In a time when the NFL has a game almost every day on Thanksgiving week. I mean, the only day they're not going to play on Thanksgiving week is Tuesday. They'll have Monday night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Black Friday game now. So, hey.
And college football, too.
Put aside the NFL and college football and the 3 conferences they have, and everybody else just doesn't count in the polls. But we're going to talk about the NBA. We're going to talk about that game that the Cavs played last week against the Celtics. What we take out of that lesson, because we're talking about wins and lessons, that and more on the next segment on Full Court Cleveland. Welcome back, everybody, to Full Court Cleveland, and it's time to bring you the Cleveland headlines that is brought to you by our good friends at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just 2 flavors, classic light lager and lime. No frills, no bitterness, no IPAs, just beer flavor. Beer flavor beer. There it is. Find local retailers who sell Garage Beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. Have you ever tried Garage Beer?
Only here.
Only here?
Yeah.
Only during the commercial break.
and you know what? It makes for a better show when we have some between the
for sure.
The
we miss you, Booby.
Let's
talk about the headlines. Of course, the biggest headline, we talked about it in the previous segment, Cavs visiting the Celtics, the champions, Cup League, undefeated team, trying to take sole possession of the best start in NBA history. Obviously, that was not the case, but there are so many things that you can take. And I told you before that the Cavs always look at this as wins and lessons, and you got to learn from your lessons. And I have given you the bad news here earlier, people. The Cavs will lose some games this year, even if they tie the Warriors from 2015-16.
2015-16, yeah.
They're going to lose 8 more times. So buckle up, get ready, because it will come at least 8 more times. But what are your takeaways from a game where the Cavs found themselves down big in the third quarter? They found themselves to come back. The Celtics shoot their lights out from threes, which they have been doing all season long. We don't really play the best game. I don't know if you would consider that the worst game of the Cavs offensively, and still lose by a possession.
Yeah, well, and that's just the thing. That's the thing about this year's team. And I think we saw that before the Boston game, right? We saw that in New York when they were down 13 at Madison Square Garden. We saw it in Milwaukee when they were down 16. This team just doesn't stop. Chicago earlier this year, down 9 in the third quarter. There's just a belief there that, quite frankly, I've been doing this, covering the team since 2007 full time. And LeBron James was here. There's just a belief in this team that we want to go out there and win every game.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen that. LeBron used to say in the locker room, just get me the playoffs. This team does not have that mindset. We believe we can go out and win every game. That's their mindset. And I think that can really take you places when it's not just your stars mindset in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Everybody's on board with that. We've seen that, they're familiar with each other in terms of their playing style and being used to playing together. But I also think they're very, very connected in terms of what they're thinking and their beliefs. And, Kenny Atkinson calls it, kind of the mental game.
Yeah.
And that's where they are. And I think we saw that in Boston. That game, had every reason to be a blowout, right?
Mhm.
I mean, they're down, 21
21
third
with
quarter,
like 7 to go. Yeah.
in the third quarter, and Darius Garland can't make shots. Nobody can make shots. Boston is unstoppable from beyond the arc in that first half. You have every reason to say, you know what, we just don't have it tonight. Tip your cap to the other guy, and they didn't do that.
Yeah.
They fought and they clawed, and like you said, one possession game on the defending champs floor, when really Boston was really determined to end that winning streak, and they had to sweat it out to do it. To me, that loss was better than some of their wins, even though the Cavs won't tell you that. The way they played that game and came back was probably better than some wins.
And that's why I say is instead of a loss, it's more of a lesson. And you tell
Right.
me where you are when I give you these terms, because the Celtics had everything going for them. They had the home court. They needed to win the cup game because they already lost to Atlanta at home as well. They didn't have Porzingis, but there's a couple of things that I can take out of the game. First of all, we had a worst shooting game of the season. They had probably the best when it comes to percentages. They had more threes before, but they had 22, 12 more than the Cavs.
Yeah.
Our bench outscores them by 16. I think it was 36-20 in just bench scoring. So we showed, as much as you want to talk about what we saw from the Cavs, I think even though the saying says that there are two things that are certain, taxes and death, I think also you could say that everything has to go through the champions in the Eastern Conference, right?
Sure.
And the Cavs and the Celtics have been the only two teams, even though now we have 4 teams, I believe, at the moment that we speak here, with winning records in the NBA, including the Magic, who we will talk about later, have been on a roll since Paolo Banchero got hurt. But, the Celtics had no answer for Mobley. The Celtics showed a little bit of lack of depth in their bench, even though that's the team they won with, and even though Porzingis was out. But I like what I saw in terms of what you were talking about, the response, the fact that they did not panic. And there was a clip in one of the timeouts when Donovan Mitchell is telling their teammates, listen, we're not shooting well. They're shooting lights out. We're only down whatever it was at the time.
Right.
We got this. We're gonna be okay. Yeah. A couple of calls, there was a play where Jason Tatum pushed off the minivan and then took like 7 steps that James Harden was so proud to see, that sidestep 3 from Tatum.
Right.
And again, those are things that happen on basketball games. That's not why the Cavs lost, right?
Right.
The Cavs were in the game, and you have to take a lot out of that, the fact that they did play. I know December 1st will be another test, right? When the Celtics come back here, and the guys know now they got a bone to pick. And still, even if the Cavs win, we still haven't done anything because we have to beat the Celtics in the playoff.
Right.
And even if the Cavs lose, still nothing has happened, because it has happened so many times throughout the history of the NBA that a team goes 0-4 in the regular season and then wins the series against the other team. So I believe that the growth that the team can get out of this game is more valuable than what the result is in this matchup during the regular season.
Absolutely. And to your point, Minnesota last year swept by the Phoenix Suns in the regular season, goes in the first round of the playoffs and sweeps the Suns. So, those games are growth experience. And I've had a few people ask me, sticking to the Celtics game, well, Garland was struggling. Craig Porter Jr. really had it going. Why didn't they put Craig Porter Jr. in there at the end? And I said, you know what my response to that is? Because this isn't the playoffs.
Yeah.
You want Darius Garland in these games at the end so that he gets another experience.
Darius Garland.
He's Darius Garland, number one.
Earned the spot.
Right. And not to mention the fact that you want him in there at these games because he's going to be in there at the end when these games really matter at the end of the year and in the playoffs.
Quick ones here in terms of I don't want our head coach Ryan Smith get upset because we didn't go over the headlines. Max Strus, where does he fit in this lineup when he comes back?
I think you're giving yourself another outside shooter to a team that has been pretty good in outside shooting at this point. And not to mention, Raf, he's very intense defender, as we've seen. He's just going to fit right in. I don't think there'd be any issue because just of his style matches this style. And not to mention a guy who, again, was here last year and is familiar with his teammates. So I think that's going to be, look, the Cavs are already super deep. Now you're going to be adding another guy who's like a first-round pick.
And speaking of depth, by the way, we talked about how the Cavs bench outscored the Celtics bench, who showed a little weakness there in terms of depth. We did not have LeVert, Okoro, or Wade, not to mention Struth that hasn't played at all.
Right.
And we still outscore
3 guys.
the bench, their
guys
bench.
off
So
the bench. Yeah.
I think that's something to say. But you have to add no Porzingis. That changes the Celtics team completely. But at the end of the day, we still, at the moment that we record this, the best team in the NBA when it comes to record, when it comes to point scoring, when it comes to a lot of other items that we'll be talking about later as we take a break and come back with more Full Court Cleveland on FanDuel Sports. De regreso con ustedes. I have to do my Spanish comeback. You know that, Sam.
No comprende.
Back at you at Full Court Cleveland. Ryan Smith, Sam Amico, and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito. Bobby Gibson shooting somewhere else. He's resting. And speaking of rest, there's no rest for the weary here in the NBA. The Cavs finally, after the game they won when they got back home after the Celtics, back-to-back, another back-to-back for the Cavs. They finally get more than a day off. In between games. It's 3 of them. They were always joking around after the game about what they were going to do, even Coach Atkinson. But do you like what the team is at this point going into the break? Obviously, 16-1. But mentally, what they have shown as a group, what they have shown in terms of chemistry, rebounding from adversity, yes, it was a very depleted New Orleans team. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you have to play the game.
Right. You can only play the people that are in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. You gotta beat whoever they put out there, even this kind of G League team that unfortunately the Pelicans for themselves have been forced to roll out there. So, those are the games and Ty Jerome said it afterwards, it was a maturity game, because when you're facing an opponent like that, sometimes and Kenny Atkinson said it too, sometimes you lose those games. He's like, I've seen games like that are lost because the other team, these are guys who are finally getting an opportunity to, come in and show what they got. So what you took away from that game, the Pelicans, going into this other portion is, oh yeah, guess what? The Cavs have another guy who could come in and contribute, Jalen Tyson, who's, as he has said, was looking for an opportunity to show the coaches what he could do. And he delivered that against New Orleans. And now all of a sudden, because we know these seasons are long and there are a lot of injuries, you always want to have guys, quote unquote, at the end of the bench that can come in and can play. And the Cavs found clearly another one. And Ralph, I remember the Golden State Warriors of 2015, 16, and years after. This team reminds me of them in the sense that whenever one of their stars or one of the regular members of the rotation would go out, the guy who wasn't playing would come in and play well. And a big part of that has to do with the system and the philosophy and the mindset at practice and stuff we don't see at practice. They're paying off in games. And I think these Cavs remind me very much of those teams. Not surprisingly, that's where Kenny Atkinson came from. And
Kenny Atkinson gave credit to his coaching staff, and specifically DeMar Carroll, who is the one that pushed for Jalen Tyson starting against New Orleans. And coach said he didn't want to play him because he hasn't played much and everything like that. And right in the elevator at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, he was finally convinced when DeMar Carroll said, I'd love to see him. I think he's ready to play with the starter. Just give him a run. And it wasn't, Garland-less starting five. But I love the energy he brought, almost a triple-double in his debut as a starter. So, we don't have enough time to talk about Ty Jerome and consecutive career nights in terms of scoring and just going off with 20 points in like a little bit. What do you have? 29 in the first half and
27 in the first half, 20 in the second quarter for Ty Jerome.
Ridiculous,
that game. And I mean, he said sometimes you just get in the zone, and the ball kept finding me, so I just.
The Cavs bench was complaining because, those are points for the bench now. Our average is going down.
right. Yeah, you got to bring him off the bench if you want the.
One more thing before we leave the cup alone, because the standings are the Hawks are 2-0 with victories over
Boston
and Washington, and they have a plus 13. We are 1-1 with the Celtics, but we have a 13-point differential. And I mentioned this because in the Emirates NBA Cup, the point differential will be a big tiebreaker when it comes to that, especially that wild card that goes in, right?
Yeah.
And then the Cavs have games left against the Wizards and the Hawks, and the Hawks have games left against the Wizards and the Bulls, right? Because they already play us and the Celtics.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So the Cavs are the Wizards and the Hawks in the Cup?
The Hawks have us and the Bulls left.
Okay.
They beat the Wizards and they beat the Celtics. So
they beat the Celtics
we
in Boston.
need to score big time against the Hawks, probably win the game so we can just
got to win both those games.
Because remember, it's like 3 groups, 1 from each group. The winner of each group advances, and then the best second place.
Right.
And that's when the tiebreaker gets tricky. The point differential.
With the point differential, and the Cavs beat the Bulls by 18 to get that.
Because at the end of the game, even Kenny Atkinson said, "Come on, guys, we
need more. We need a bigger point differential."
Be a difference.
Yeah. So, in terms of that, with the Cavs schedule coming up overall, and those Cup games, Ralph, I think they'd have a good chance to advance.
Yeah.
If they play like they've been playing, the Cavs.
The game with Atlanta for the Cup will be the one in Atlanta on November 29th, and then it's going to be the other game that they have pending with Washington when they come. The Cavs play 5 of the next 6 home games after the New Orleans game at home, undefeated at home.
Yeah.
You like the chances with Denver and Boston being one of those 5 games coming in?
Yeah, look, you keep playing the way you're playing, stick to your principles, defend like you've been defending for 90% of the time, and keep moving the ball. Evan Mobley said it best. We could beat anybody when we play like this, and we feel like we're, right up there among the elite teams. And I think Evan Mobley said we feel like we're the most elite. So this is where you prove it against teams that are already elite. You don't need to do it now, although it's nice.
Yeah.
But, you want to continue to build off of what you've started.
But this is the time when you have to grow and get ready to be playing at that level when you come to the playoffs. We're going to take a break and come back and talk about those 5 home games that the Cavs have in order to look for keeping their undefeated record. And we're going to talk about the NBA, what's going on around the league when we come back on Full Court Cleveland. Here we go. We're back again with you on FanDuel Sports Network. Sam Amico and yours truly, Rafa Hernandez Brito, Full Court Cleveland with Bobby Gibson resting. And we're going to talk about, Sam, what's coming up for the Cavs in the schedule for us. We 11-20 with defeated New Orleans, and now we have 3 days break.
Yeah.
With the Sunday visit from Toronto. Then a pre-Thanksgiving meeting with Atlanta. I was talking with Larry Nance. He was happy because he's going to be here, and then they don't play the Cavs again till Friday, post-Thanksgiving in Atlanta. So he might stay home and have Thanksgiving with the family. We all love Larry Nance Jr. and the Nance family, of course. And then we start December with every other day for the first week until we get to the tournament. But we have Boston, Washington, and Denver.
Yeah.
Those 2 Cup games, Atlanta and Washington, and the Atlanta visit mixing with the Boston and the Nuggets. Any big test? Obviously, the game against Boston is going to be a test because you're home. Yeah. And then the other champion, the ex-champions, Denver Nuggets and the new. And I call it the new Nuggets because it's hard to see them without those 2 big pieces they lost around Jamal Murray in Pope and Jackson.
Right, yeah. With the Nuggets, first of all, that Celtics game Sunday night is going to, that'll be blown out.
Sunday, 6 p.m.
Right. So that's going to be another huge game, and you're just playing them, 10 days after the first time you met them at their place. So that's obviously going to be a big game, even though people are going to downplay it and say it's just a regular season. There's going to be so much buzz around it. Fans will be very excited. I would think that both teams will be extremely up for that. And then, you have to take care of business against these other teams, the Torontos, the Hawks. The Hawks can be dangerous. Obviously we saw them beat Boston in Boston, and the Hawks didn't even have their best player in Trae Young, their leading scorer, and went to Boston and won that game. So Atlanta can be a dangerous team. Toronto, these are all NBA teams. Even though Toronto's not going to the playoffs, they're going to be playing the lottery.
Are you surprised by Toronto? Obviously, they dismantle a little bit, but
yeah,
they're 3-12 at the moment we speak here, and I don't know if we have seen. The other day I saw like a redrafting of the Mobley draft, and Scotty Barnes, who took that Rookie of the Year at the end of that season when Mobley got hurt. I don't think we've seen the growth.
Yeah, there's not
around that draft, that group of players that Evan Mobley has. Obviously, the situation involved has a lot to do with it.
Right.
But Scotty Barnes has been.
He's been kind of the same. It's almost like he hit a ceiling his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
He's still good. Don't get me wrong. But Mobley has been, steadily rising this year. Really, Mobley's best 16-game stretch of his career to start the season. So, in Toronto, the thing that surprised me a little bit, is that I think that they thought the Anunoby trade with the Knicks and the Raptors getting R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel quickly, I think they thought we're going to stay competitive and in the playoff race and then be a piece away. Hasn't worked out that way, and they're kind of, I think that they've thought, well, let's rebuild this thing and see how we can do it.
That thing I think brings a lot about the depth, because I think Jakob Poeltl has been doing his Jakob Poeltl things.
Right.
R.J. Barrett has been putting up points the way Emmanuel quickly has been hurt.
Yeah.
But I think it's just the supporting cast,
right,
that hasn't really worked out for them over there.
And that's every in the NBA, that's everything. That's a big reason for the Cavs' early success is, what your star players are going to do and your leading scorers are going to do. How much support are they getting from quote unquote role players, from reserves, and the depth? And you look at teams in the NBA like Toronto, and maybe say, let's not even use the Cavs as an example, but somebody like the Oklahoma City Thunder, that they're both young teams. They both have younger star kind of leading scorers, but it's just really a result of the depth. When you look at Oklahoma City, the depth and the fit. And sometimes, they just don't have the fit. So, Toronto has some things to look forward to in terms of who's on the roster now, but they need more draft picks to get relevant. But if you're the Cavs, you still got to be aware of everybody, no matter how bad they might be. Because
but again, these are
NBA.
the games that are dangerous in the NBA.
Yes.
Because the human nature is to kind of relax, or like even George Nian said yesterday, he was asked post-game about like how hard it is to get up to this game, because you would think you don't want to play either. And he's like, hell no.
Yeah.
Why would you want a day off or whatever?
Yeah.
So those are the games that I think are dangerous. The game in Philadelphia, when everybody thought, oh my God, no Embiid, no
Paul George,
no Maxey, no Paul George. I should have taken it. No, you got guys that are coming off the bench the way Jalen Tyson came in against New Orleans, trying to make the coaching staff pay attention and maybe get him some minutes, especially in this rotation that Kenny Atkinson's using. And in Philadelphia, McCain's been playing lights out.
He's been great, the rookie.
Yeah. And I think it's putting Nick Nurse on notice, saying, when Maxey comes back, you're going to have to find a way to
keep this guy in the game. On the court. Yeah. No. And, Ralph, Philly, you don't know what's going on there in terms of, are they ever going to be able to pull it together? Right now, as we speak, they're dead last in the Eastern Conference, right? So, as far as the Cavs go, when you're facing those teams, it is, I would think that it is human nature. I always tell the other writers when I'm at the game, if we're not getting up for it, the players are probably struggling a little bit too. When you see an opponent like a New Orleans come to town and they don't have their 8 top scorers, New Orleans, a situation where they signed a guy, Elfrid Payton, that morning, and he started. So, it's hard to get up for that type of situation if you're a player. And, the Cavs did a nice job in finding some resolve against a team that, it was hard to get up for.
You have to. Those are the games you have to be ready.
Right.
But then again, you know what? I'm sorry, but you cannot feel bad for anybody either, because it happens to you and nobody feels bad when you show up. I remember those days when we had, the 3 big guys with Larry here, and they all got hurt at the same time.
Yeah.
And then we had a stretch where all the point guards got hurt at the same time. But I have to apologize for all the audience on FanDuel Sports Network and Full Court Cleveland, because I haven't really asked the most important question to Sam Amico, who's been covering the NBA just as long as the Wolf Joe Gabriel when they started .com, and Al Gore didn't invent the internet. It was Sam Amico and Joe G who invented NBA.com. And you can talk about the Celtics game, and you can talk about the NBA Emirates Cup, and you can talk about the undefeated record of the Cavs at home and everything. But the most important question to you is, what are your feelings about the Cavs frog?
As a guy who invented the internet, I was hoping you would ask that question. I think it's really cool. And the frog, of course, was in the Big Play Studios, so that was even cooler. And, I saw Gab Cruz dancing around with him as she does with everybody.
I immediately email Big Play and say, please do not let the frog get on Gab's Jeep, because it's like a bad stretch here. Like, it has Niang and Stephen Kwan. We'll be right back. I don't want to say anymore. We talk about the frog and Thanksgiving when we come back on Full Court Cleveland. Before we go here, welcome back on Full Court Cleveland. Before we go on with the power ranking and Sam Amico's six-pack, the Gav Cruz Jeep ride, I think it's been like a bad luck ride for most of the guys that have ridden in it. George Niang was hitting almost 80% from deep before he went on a ride on the yellow Jeep.
Yeah,
and he never saw the nets again. Stephen Kwan dropped, I think, like 300 points on his batting average.
And
Ryan Smith is laughing because he knows I'm telling the truth. But I
careful.
love the frog. I think the frog is the best. The best thing I love about it is that it's just so organic. It wasn't forced on anybody. It just out of nowhere popped up. And you know how big the frog is? The other day, I was in an event for the Diversity Center of Northeast Ohio, and my boss, Kevin Clayton, was getting an award for a humanitarian award. Congrats, KC. You're the best, and you've been pushing a lot of he's the one that brought me in to be the Community Impact and Equity Ambassador for the Cavs, and we've been doing a lot of great things in the community. But one of the people that was presenting the students and the awardees was disappointed when he saw two tables of Cavs people, but the frog wasn't in the tables.
Yeah, that's reason for disappointment. That's reason for disappointment. That's how big the frog is. And you're right. Do not let him get in that Jeep with Gap, because she has, hey, you want to get in the Jeep? I'm like, no, I have a lot of things I want to accomplish still this year. So, the frog's huge. And why not? Why shouldn't it be?
Do you keep him? Around for wins?
Yeah.
Just keep the frog?
Absolutely.
The best part about it is it's a dog inside the frog.
Yeah. That's probably the best part.
That's probably the best part, right? Yeah. We have the best mascot. Not search receiver. No, I'm sorry. Yes, we have the best mascot in the NBA. Okay, it's time for power rankings here in Full Court Cleveland. And today we're going to power rank the top 3 Thanksgiving side dishes.
I did no show prep, so this is going to be off the top of my head.
I just threw a curveball. I just changed it.
Yeah.
Are you a big Thanksgiving meal guy?
My gosh,
I love day off or after?
Well, I like day off.
Yeah, okay. I like leftovers until like 5 days later when I already had like turkey salad, turkey omelet.
Oh yeah, that's nice too. But my sister has hosted.
Is your family a big Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's more. We have more people at Thanksgiving than Christmas and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Christmas is big, but Thanksgiving, it's like I'm walking around the house shoulder to
really?
shoulder.
Okay.
Elbowing my way to the food. Mm-hmm. I don't have to cook anything. My sister and my sisters all do it.
Okay.
And my mom and everybody brings stuff. My nieces and nephews. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always like, this is the one day a year where it's like totally hectic. There are kids running around, stepping on my face and stuff, that I'm like, okay with it. You know why? Because I just let myself go when it comes to eating. So I guess I should get to my 3 favorite sides.
Yeah. Well, obviously, a main dish.
Could gravy be considered a side? Because I basically will put it in a bowl. Yeah. And this is the only day of the year I do this stuff. But yeah, so I'm going to go with gravy over everything. But gravy, the mashed potatoes, and my one sister makes this corn stuff that I don't even know what you would call it, but it's just amazing.
Yeah, I love Thanksgiving. You know, I used to celebrate it with Joe G's parents. May they rest in peace. And his mom used to give me the most delicious pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
I'm a pie guy. I like pumpkin pie.
I don't know that that's a side.
Huh? I know that, but I eat it. I eat it as a side.
Okay, well then it counts.
But I have to mention that because Mrs. Gabriel used to always, and my wife when I would tell her, you know, I got a pie, she always didn't like it because she knew I didn't get just one slice of pie. She used to send me home with the whole pie.
Yeah, that's nice.
Pie. So that was really awesome.
So when are we doing?
I miss that so
when
much.
are we doing Thanksgiving at Joe
G's? I miss that so much. I don't know what I'm doing on Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the holiday where it's like adopt Rafa holiday.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm usually by myself here, so it's like kind of like adopt Rafa, and I love the fact that everywhere I go, it's like different size.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to mention mashed potatoes because I have mashed potatoes all the time. I like the stuffing, and I like the different ways that people prepare it.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes some of them are a little more meaty than others.
Yeah.
So I like stuffing. I like anything that has to do with green beans.
Yeah. Okay.
Good. I still don't like the cranberry.
I don't like that either.
I don't know what that goes with.
No, I am not the
cranberry or mint.
I'm just
thing.
not.
I don't know what it goes with when
thing.
I go to homes, so I kind of stay away from it.
Yeah. Right, you have to eat it so that you don't.
I put it on my plate because sometimes I've been at home and be like, no, you gotta have some.
And then you scrape it off at the end.
Yeah,
so when nobody's looking.
I don't know what does that go with. The cranberry,
nothing,
whatever
in my
they call
opinion.
It.
Some people love the cranberry stuff, but I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
My least favorite part of the Thanksgiving meal is probably the turkey, because I'm like, I have turkey all the time.
Oh no, man, I love turkey. I mean,
if you put enough gravy on it, I'm good with
my
anything.
mom usually, when I don't have, she will send me the Thanksgiving dinner like FedEx, but the problem is that she sends me enough to feed a whole town. And I'm like, Mom, I live by myself.
Like mothers do. Well, you're always invited to our place, Rob.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We'll be back with more on Full Court Cleveland. Gonna go here with. And we are back with Full Court Cleveland. Bobby Gibson continues to rest. How many games is he going to rest, you know? Because does he know that he has a limit of games
day to day
that he have to be on shows in order to be considered for the Emmys?
With his big picture on the right, yeah. We need him for the Emmys because I don't know about you. I'm certainly not going to get us one.
Certainly, I never had one. I don't think I ever competed for one.
Me neither.
Because most of my work is in another language, so they don't.
That's why.
Even though I won Call of the Year in the NBA,
yes, you did, Max.
Against
Strus.
9 other finalists, there were 10 finalists. 9 of them were in. I was the only one in non-English finalists.
That's not surprising.
Thank you to Max Strus for. I'm gonna bring my award one of these days to show you guys.
We should be setting it right here.
You just put it here, right, instead of the Emmy.
Yeah.
I don't like it when I see like 3-time Emmy award winner, you know, whatever.
We need to say that. We deserve it.
We
need to put our name in the Emmy competition.
For the writers?
What's that?
What's the price
for writers?
Yeah. What award?
There's the National Sports Writers Association.
How many times you won that? Like
0. 0. Yeah. Pro Basketball Writers Association. I got honorable mention one year, and I had the plaque on the wall. Honorable mention, Sam Amico.
That's good though. Do you vote for any of the awards that are given at the end of the season?
For the NBA awards, not MVP, but some of the other stuff.
Yeah. Do you get like a little swag bag or like a little present for every team that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they'll give you not as much as we used to.
Who
but
sends the best ones?
Usually it was I hate to say it live. The Golden State Warriors would always send you the best
They have
stuff.
probably one of the best PR departments. Don't be surprised about that.
Without question.
Yeah.
But there was you get all kinds of cool stuff. I immediately give it to my kids, and I'm like, I wish I had kept that. And then I try to get it back from them. They're like, no, it was a gift.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So
anyway,
we'll go over around the NBA.
Yeah.
The Magic has figured it out without Paolo Banchero. Is that going to last for them, you think?
No. But
right?
I'll tell you what, I think they're defending very well. They've done a nice job in terms of doing that on the road, Orlando, and I think Jamal Mosley, their coach, has done a magnificent job. The Wagner brothers, as little as Cavs fans care for them, have been outstanding. Jalen Suggs.
France, not much. Mo, I don't know. You want to ask anybody in Cleveland.
Right, yeah. Mo went to Michigan, all that. I guess they both did, but
I don't dislike it because of that. Actually, the only thing I like about him. But
no, I think that it's just they're a little bit, but they're a physical team. So Orlando, but I think at some point, it's going to come to a halt without Banchero. But at some point he's going to come back too. So I do think that Orlando's going to be a team that you really, really need to pay attention to come playoff time. Yeah. They may end up with a number 3 seed.
Yeah, they'll compete. They'll coach very well.
Yeah, and they match up very well with the Cavs.
Okay, what about the Lakers? What has clicked for them? 6 in a row. LeBron had a streak of triple-doubles. Kanech has been shooting lights out.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is up there in the scoring.
Anthony Davis is a finals, or NBA MVP candidate for the season in the early running. I'll be real honest. The Lakers have had a lot of home games. Mm-hmm. They've played 3 teams that went to the playoffs last year, and one of them was the New Orleans Pelicans. The other one was the Sixers, and the other one was the Cavs.
Okay.
So, and I'm sorry, 4 because they opened the season with Minnesota. But their schedule's been very easy right now in terms of a lot of home games. Haven't played many teams with winning records. The teams that they have played with winning records, they've lost those games, except for Minnesota and Phoenix, but they did lose one to Phoenix. So there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors going on there right now. I think that their depth is going to be an issue moving forward, but you can only play the games and win the games in front of you, as we said about the Cavs. Yep. Lakers have, at this point, won 6 straight, and they still got some kind of an easy schedule coming up, so that can help them build momentum. I don't think they're up there with the Denver Nuggets of the world yet. In reality, even the Dallas Mavericks, who have struggled a little bit, and the Phoenix Suns, when they're totally healthy, those teams are, elite. Obviously, don't want to leave the Oklahoma City Thunder out of that, or the Minnesota Timberwolves.
No Chet Holmgren for a while.
Right, and the Timberwolves, when they get their act together, I think it's going to be a tough road for the Lakers and probably even for the super hot Golden State Warriors right now.
Well, quickly here before we go, 5 of the next 6 games at home.
Yeah.
Toronto, Atlanta, game in Atlanta away. Then we come back for Boston, Washington, and Denver. What's the Cavs record in those 5 home games?
In the 5, well, I think that they should go 6-0 during those games. Yeah. You want to get the win on Atlanta. That's the big one. But if you keep playing like you're playing, I'm not so worried for the Cavs if I'm about the Nuggets, because they're struggling a little bit, and they've got some injuries. You want to get that Boston game. And like you said, Raf, you've got to really pay attention to the Washingtons and Atlantas of the world. You've got to approach those games
like big games,
like they're big deals. And if they do that and the Cavs continue to play like they're playing, I think they'll go 6-0.
And before we go, I have to shout out the latter-day sniper, Sam Merrill, who started in Boston and had an amazing game defensively.
Yeah. Yes.
Nothing has been said, or not enough has been said about the game he played defensively. You know, starting against the Celtics, had really good defensive plays and hit 2 or 3 threes that he launched. So shout out for Sam, because he's been doing also quietly, hurt. He got a bad ankle, but he's been doing great.
And that's been the key to their success this season, is those guys who aren't getting their name in the paper have been coming through and making big plays. Sam Merrill had missed the previous 3 games before Boston and then had to miss the game right after. And then he started the one game he played in there. And it's like, oh, congratulations on the start. You get to guard Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And then you're coming back because your ankle's too sore, so you're not going to be able to play the next night. But you're right, Ralph. He hit those 2 big threes during that big third quarter run for them. So guys like Sam have been a big reason why this team started 16-1.
And a big reason we're going to be back next week is because you guys have been tuning into us on Twitter and on FanDuel Sports Network. Thank you to our head coach, Ryan Smith, Sam Amico, Rafa Hernandez Brito, Bobby Gibson. We'll be back before Thanksgiving to talk about the routine and the Cavs streak. You heard it here, undefeated at home, and they continue to be, according to Sam Amico. See you next week